So I want to talk about this, man, and this was like one of the things I had in the title today. This was dropped by The Intercept. Let's see. Let me close out of this. AOC, Nancy Pelosi needs to go, but there's nobody to replace her yet. So this happened on Jeremy Scahill's podcast. AOC believes the Democratic Party needs new leadership, telling The Intercept in an interview that it's time for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to go. But the left, she said, currently has no plan on how to fill the subsequent leadership vacuum. If you create that vacuum, she says, there are so many nefarious forces at play to fill that vacuum with something even worse. Pelosi, Cruz, blah, 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 blah. So here's my thoughts right now. And I want you to tell me if you think I'm being too optimistic, and maybe I am. I think she's listening to all of the flack she's gotten online recently because of Jimmy Dore's vote idea, and I think it might be starting to. I think the seed might be starting to grow a little bit, and I think that this might be she's acknowledging that Nancy Pelosi needs to go. That's a tune she wasn't really singing before. She's kind of played with that before. She showed up at Nancy Pelosi's office with the Sunrise Movement. That was great. But since then, you've heard Mama Bear, Mama Bear, Mama Bear. Now she's finally changing her tune a little bit. So maybe there are going to be some demands come January. I don't know. Well, am I being too optimistic? And maybe I am.
You might be too optimistic on actions being taken.
Okay.
But I'd love to be wrong. I'd love for you to be right. But in terms of is AOC listening, she absolutely is. Like okay. This is I mean, one of her strengths is how sophisticated she is on social media, right? And which is why it's so disappointing when she goes from, you know, a year and a half ago or whatever, calling out the, you know, in her freshman orientation that there was no labor, there was only lobbies speaking to the group. When she went on Twitter to call out Nancy Pelosi, she literally said, why are we voting for Trump's border wall? We have a majority of Congress. What's the point of having a majority if we're going to just go along with Trump? And she took a ton of shit for that. So she's sophisticated. She knows how to use it, which is why it's so disappointing that she's now running this Mama Bear thing. So if you think she hasn't heard of that, well, first of all, she has, because she's tweeted about it.
Right.
You know,
totally.
And she's like, oh, there's no step 2. But when you start seeing, and what Jimmy did and is doing is so sophisticated. When you see that video that the Rising put out, that Crystal Ball weighing what Jimmy says and what AOC says, and she's like basically sides with Jimmy and all the other people, there's no way. Because here's the thing. You can sit there and say, oh, you know, Jimmy's just some angry comedian, you know, in his garage. But when, and look, The Hill is look, it's owned by the Koch brothers. It's corporate media. The Rising, they do some good work on there. They're corporate media. They're the most progressive of a corporate media outlet. You know, let's be honest who they are. You know, like I have respect for what they do, but there's a lot of times they're on the wrong side of Julian Assange. Like they've definitely said some things that are a little more neoliberal, but they say they push the left progressive thing more than anybody that's in corporate media that I've seen. So,
and they have conversations in a way that's outside of the, kind of the corporate media bubble, because like Crystal is kind of, more anti-establishment left, whereas the Seagar, right? He's more anti-establishment right. I don't watch their show all the time, so I can't speak to like every segment, but what I have seen, that's the vibe I get from that show. And those are the conversations you're not going to hear on any cable network.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's the thing that is really good about that show. They're not asking questions based on, the big corporation that buys ad time, in their ear. Like literally the producers, so they are asking legitimate questions from their perspective of, and that's what makes them watchable. And when they get something wrong, it's more like maybe I don't agree with them rather than they're deliberately pushing bullshit. They might be pushing. I mean, the Assange thing was they said that 2 years ago. I don't know if they've flip-flopped on it, if they've changed their stance on that. But the thing they said about Assange, I think it was 2 years ago, was like State Department talking points. I mean, it was just like, oh, he's in the Ecuadorian embassy and is, you know, he's a dirty person, whatever. It was just like, it was just flat out nonsense. So I don't know if they're just repeating mainstream stuff because they didn't know any better. But anyway, they're considered the most progressive of the corporate media, that show.
Okay.
It would be in my opinion, what seems like in wide circles are. So if they're saying, AOC, you dropped the ball, you're on the wrong side of this. And Crystal Ball said AOC is actually disagreeing with her own stance on we got to push Medicare for all no matter what.
Matt Orfala edited together a video. Beautiful
video.
Yeah.
So there's no way she's not seeing this. There's no way she's not seeing an NFL player. I mean, she responded to Steven Jackson, that NFL player that was on Jimmy Dore's show, who was like, man, we got to hold them accountable. And she's absolutely aware of this. And so she's realizing, and her voicemail was full. My voice is on her voicemail. Yeah. So she got when she heard her base come at her with, you better do something about this. She's going to be like, oh man, you know, and she hasn't been in the party long enough to be so arrogant to take where are you going to go? Like, what are you going to do? Like the way Dianne Feinstein talked to those Girl Scouts a year ago who wanted to save the environment. So I think she's hearing it. And the real question for me is, she's hearing it. That's what that's saying. And does she have the courage to just say, bye, Nancy, we're changing the party? Or is she going to keep drinking this Kool-Aid of incremental centrism, thinking that's going to achieve anything other than keeping the status quo?
Yeah. Well, here, I want to go to this part in the article too. I want to read something else here. Here, hold up. Here we go. If progressives do threaten to withhold their report from Pelosi, Ocasio-Cortez said, their demand shouldn't be merely for a floor vote on Medicare for all, which is sure to fail. These are Ocasio-Cortez's words. And said she believes progressives should fight for the bigger structural obstacles in the way of Medicare for all, like pay-go, an austerity provision that makes it difficult, blah, 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 or replacing conservative Democratic Rep. Richie Neal as head of the Ways and Means Committee. We are currently negotiating to get and work towards real material concessions for the left that can move things into place to help build power for the next 2 years, she said. So here's my question. And maybe I just don't know enough. Is there some kind of law that exists that says you can only ask for one thing? Is that a law? Like is that, do I not know about this law? Like, is that a thing? Do you know if that's a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing called the lie of incremental centrism. I mean, that's where that quote is why I don't have faith that she's going to actually do something about this, because she doesn't have the guts to go, well, we should ask for more things, so I'm going to demand that. And here's the other thing too. What strong movements like the Yellow Vest movement did, they go out and protest for this one thing, and then they get it. And then they protest the next weekend for another thing. Like, you keep going, because here's the thing that maybe she doesn't get it, or I don't understand this, but like, she was at the Bernie Sanders rallies. I covered several of them in Southern California where she spoke. She knows how popular she knows that and this is the thing Crystal Ball brought up, is like, why are you waiting to mobilize these tens of millions of people that are ready to get on a cause? So if you step forward, AOC, and said, I'm holding the vote until we get Medicare for all, you would have all these people. Yeah. And then, okay, you withhold the vote. And then when Pelosi tries to go, okay, well, I'm going to do this and this, you go, no, we want all of this. And we want to get, and in order to get, you want pay-go. Okay, we'll get rid of pay-go and get a new person on Ways and Means. Okay. That's how.
And a floor vote.
Yes, and
you asked for
affordable.
it all.
How you push for things. You don't go, well, let's wait till we have this and that and this and that. And you just go. You say, I want this and we want that. And you just push, man. This is like, we didn't go to the streets. Well, you shouldn't protest George Floyd. Wait, you should actually be, don't say defund the police. You should actually first, have a committee meeting on how to restructure financing and the police. No, fuck you. We went to the streets. We started pulling down Christopher Columbus statues. That's what's going down. So that's how it works. So you want to talk like a career politician that's like, oh, we need this ways and means. No, we need bold action. That's what we need. It's like, according to AOC, Rosa Parks just sitting and not leaving the front of the bus was like, she should have waited and she should have actually, wrote a memo to the bus lines of that, and that town and then really, no, Rosa Parks said, not leaving. And that's what you need to do, AOC, if you want to be a real leader. And you're going to get voted out if you don't.
I just really, I mean, I don't know. I hope that the fact that you're saying she needs to go, the next pivot should be, you know what, to get our vote, here's some demands. And I say, demand it all. Like why are you cherry picking? Like, what? Demand it all. And this article goes on. We all know that it is incredibly fragile. Nancy Pelosi's shot of potentially losing the speakership, it is incredibly fragile right now. She can't afford to lose anything. So demand it all. Demand it all. PAYGO, gone. Floor vote, happening. And people are downplaying this. It's a performative act. No, it is much more than that. You could call it a performative act. Maybe let's say that like only people on YouTube knew what Medicare for All even was. Then maybe you can make the argument at this point in time it's a quote performative act. But no, 70% of the freaking country wants this. Even according to Fox News poll, Fox News viewers want Medicare for All. People are finally waking up. They're finally seeing through the bullshit propaganda around universal healthcare that has been shoved down people's throats for decades. That's the only reason we don't have it and every other industrialized country in the world does. We're finally seeing through that bullshit. We're finally realizing that medical bankruptcies are unique to us and no other industrialized nation in the world. We're waking up to that. So it's so much more than just a performative act. You're forcing people during a pandemic to go against healthcare, and that will be on their permanent freaking record. And you are going to give a movement a shot in the arm that it needs.
A movement needs a shot in the arm. Even if they just got completely neutered when Bernie endorsed Joe Biden in the spring, right?
Yeah.
So here's the other thing that just drives me insane about fucking dummy liberal lefties, whatever. It's like, well, first you need this, first you need that. Oh, is that why every single bill has bullshit packed into it to feed that lobby group and that lobby group and that lobby group? So why don't you, AOC, pack some shit to feed your base? Oh, by the way, in this Medicare for All floor vote, it's going to get rid of PAYGO. It's going to get this guy off the Ways and Means Committee, and this is what's going to happen. Oh, wow, you're attaching a bunch of pork belly. No, I'm attaching a bunch of populism to it. Yeah. That's what you do. You are in a street fight with people, and you're sitting there trying to play, well, we need to have nice white gloves when we play patty cake. No, you need to kick them in the fucking nuts. What are you talking about? It's like you're getting attacked by a mugger, and you're like, hey, wait a minute. I took a karate class. Can you attack me this one way so I can use this one punch? No. 30,000 people die every day, every year in America. Like, I want to ask AOC, are you having these conversations with Amy Vilela, who you know whose daughter died because she didn't have health insurance? Is that what you're saying to her? Well, Amy, it's too performative. And you're saying that to the millions of family members who had other friends and family die because they didn't have health insurance? It's too performative, and the Ways and Means guy, and meow. Do something.
It's like you're in a street fight, but you can only throw one punch every 2.5 minutes.
Right.
Like you're just like, all right, this is just like, that's all right. Anything else? I don't know. A knee would be weird. I don't want to do that. Now's not the time. Meanwhile, you just keep getting the shit kicked out of you. And the you in this metaphor is all the American people. That's the you in this metaphor. Yes. It's all of us. They're letting us get the shit beat out of us. And they're saying they might throw one punch, but they can only throw one, maybe. And they're not even guaranteeing that. Whereas we're asking for an actual street fight. That's what we're
asking for a street fight. And they're like, well, we want to have a focus group first to see what type of punch to throw while you're being attacked. Okay, great. Let me know how that shakes out. Like, it's like, and all of us we're all us mobilized people. We're like, it's like there's like millions of people in this street fight metaphor. We've all been training, man. We've been in a goddamn MMA gym for a while. We're ready to go. Like, bring it. Let's do this. And you're like, meow, 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 meow. Like, and she's going to take crap from the corporate establishment for this quote about maybe it's time for Pelosi to go. And she'll back down more. You know, like when Whoopi Goldberg tells her to stay in her lane.
That's my fear.
Yeah, it's completely justified because there's no evidence of her really coming up swinging against the corporate establishment. The Democratic, there's no evidence of it. She had a couple of tweets early on. That's it. And that's all these progressives in this corrupt party can do is tweet.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like she'll say some things, but then I'm assuming she gets some slaps on the wrist real quick, and then she responds to them, not to us.
Exactly.
When she was like, me and Joe Biden wouldn't even be in the same political party in any other country. Nice slap on the wrist. She had to walk away from that real. She had to walk away. Even at the point where she was like, I'm thinking about getting out of electoral politics. That was bigger than people realize, because that just goes to show when you really want to do some positive things for people, that's how you feel after a couple years. You're ready to just get out of the game entirely, because the game's not meant for we the people. The game's meant for Wall Street. And I'd imagine you learn that really freaking quick.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, you're so right. When she says these bold statements and the corporate Democrats come down on her, she doesn't go, fuck you. I'm answering to my base. They put me in office, not you, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. You didn't get me elected. You worked to get me. You passed laws so somebody like me never comes along again. You wanted Joe Crowley, because Joe Crowley, nobody knows who he was. He wouldn't make noise. He'd vote for everything you wanted him to make. She's not. I don't get it. You like get to the top of the mountain and then say I'm sorry and walk back down to the middle of the mountain and say someone else should go up there and plant a flag.
Jeez.
The fuck, man. Like, if I was in her position, I would be setting DC on goddamn fire, and my base would be so fired up. I would have an army. I would have an army, and I'd be like, and I'd get behind closed doors and I'd say, all right, here's what I want. If I don't get it, I'm going to live stream in this hallway right now. And I will have 20,000 people surrounding this building in 30 minutes is what I would say. And they'd be like, okay, great. Can we just add, no. I want Medicare for all, and I want it now.
Yeah.
Like, and they'd call my bluff, and I'd say, okay. And then here I am standing outside of Nancy Pelosi's home. Everybody come join me. If I had 5 million fucking Twitter followers, which I would if I made it to Congress the way AOC did, I'd be like, my 5 million peeps, they're coming with me everywhere I go. You want a taste?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you got the people behind you. You don't have the beltway behind you, but you got the people.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have the beltway behind you. You got into office because we didn't want you to have you said you didn't want the beltway behind you.
Yeah. When you hear Hillary Clinton talking about how nobody likes Bernie Sanders, why do you think that was? Because he was advocating for the things none of them wanted to do.
Right.
That's why. That's why nobody liked him.
Nobody in the beltway liked Bernie
Nobody
Sanders.
in the beltway liked him.
None of the people corresponding in the Podesta emails liked Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't get AOC's half. Why did you get in this if you're going to half fight? Like, what did you think this was going to be? Girl Scouts, and they were just going to give you a medal and pat you on the head, and everyone's going to tell you you're great? What did you think who did you think you were getting into a fight with? Like, it's a street fight, motherfucker. Come up swinging. Like, what are you doing? Punch. Like, don't write a poem. Take them out. Like, come on. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to, like, you win. You won. You've got all this power. It's like, I don't know how many more examples I can make.
No, I hear you, man. I mean, it's just, if you're going to say someone's not fit for the gig, then you kind of got to make some demands then. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, you're acknowledging she's not fit for the gig. You just said it. Make some freaking demands for your vote. Because otherwise you're saying it's fine, she's not fit. And I get it. She's also saying, well, we got nowhere else to go right now. Yeah, but make some demands. Make some freaking demands in exchange for your vote. She can't lose your vote. She can't. So make some demands. And if they don't, you know, which we'll see come January, if they don't, it just means that, well, they did know better. They know better. They know what's going on. They're listening. They're hearing what we're saying to demand a floor vote. They know what it would do, but they're just choosing not to. And there is no reason why, oh, we're going to say get rid of pay. We're not going to force a floor vote. Demand it all. Demand it all. We live in a country that has conceded absolutely nothing to lefties for as long as both of us have been human fucking beings.
Yes.
It's time to demand more than one thing.
When has anyone ever made, when has the fucking ruling class ever made a concession for us? We always have to make one.
Yeah.
We're having to make one in this bullshit stimulus plan. We'd like $600 a week on top of it. We'd like a $1,200 check. Maybe half of that.
Maybe half. $900 billion. We might give you half. We've given you about $4 a day. And by the way, you didn't give it to us. It was an agreement. It was an agreement. First of all, you know, MMT, you know, they just create currency out of thin air anyway. Mm-hmm. But what's important here, though, still is that, you know, we pay taxes as part of an agreement, and they're not upholding to the agreement. They're stealing from you every freaking day.
Yeah.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news